welcome. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the studio this evening. And we're going to be painting. Where am I at? I can lean forward. That guy over there, Mothman. It is Cryptid month. I'm so excited to be painting cryptids. Welcome, Beverly. Great to see you. Oh, my Lord. That's a shoulder replacement. Ouch. That sounds painful. Please feel free just to watch. I'm glad you stopped in and said hello. I hope you get better quick. I hope it feels better. I don't know which one it is, but I hope it feels better really soon. So thank you for stopping by. We're going to jump right into this. The paper that I'm using, actually, I'm not sure what paper this is that I'm using. I don't know. It feels like a nice paper, though. I want to say this is a Fabriano paper, but I'm not exactly certain. What I am certain about are my paints over here on my right-hand side. You can see them over here. These are my M-gram paints in my Studio Around paint box there. And I seem to have lost the paintbrush, but we'll figure it out. And we're painting Mothman. Mothman is one of these cryptids, a creature of lore that holds a bit of a place in my heart. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, not far from Point Pleasant, where this whole thing went down. And heard stories of Mothman growing up. So I'm exceedingly excited. I'm excited to paint this. Let's just say that. All right, I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to get like a light, a bit of paint on him right away. And my light is going to be this burnt umber. I want him to have some darker tones, and we'll definitely get some darker tones on the underneath side of him and whatnot. But I want him to have a bit of a lighter color. Right, like a moth. Maybe we could say like a moth. How about that? And so I'm going to start, and his undertone is going to be this lighter color. And when we go back over it, if we leave some in place, then cool. Or if we leave some showing, then cool. We'll have just a highlight there. And if we go over it again, nothing lost. Sudike is here. Hello, Sudike. Welcome. Glad you could stop by. It's always great to see you, too. Just getting started with the first layer of paint, a little underpainting on my Mothman here. Let me see. His wing comes up there, comes over to his arm, and then up. Now, the Mothman was seen around Point Pleasant in the late 1960s. I have heard reports that there were Mothman sightings before that point in time, but they're unconfirmed. And, of course, everybody knows the story of the Mothman. The Mothman is a harbinger of bad things to come, and on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? Christmas Eve? I think it was Christmas Eve. I'll have to look now. I'm sorry, it wasn't even Christmas Eve. It was a Friday Eve, December 15th. The bridge across the Ohio River into Point Pleasant collapsed and killed 46 people. And everybody blamed that on the Mothman because after that, the sightings of the Mothman disappeared, and nobody saw the Mothman after that. So they think he was sending a message. I guess the message was, don't get on the bridge. I don't know what the message was. But I'm being a little quiet here. I'm trying to concentrate. It's funny. I always think I can do two things at once. I can paint. Oh, could you guys see that? Do I need to pull this down a little bit? I always think I can paint and talk easily at the same point in time, but sometimes it's harder to do than others. Beverly, no need to respond. Hope you have a speedy recovery. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for throwing that in there, Sadiq. It's nice. I always like the collegiality, the friendliness of everybody who jumps into chat on this channel. It's absolutely very nice. I love to see that. And I should say, I hope everybody's having a fantastic week this week. Beverly, I guess we can look at yours both ways, right? Not the best week because you went in and had some surgery done, and then that's never a good thing to do. But let's take the opposite approach to that. Is now that surgery is over, you can do some healing and get better and get back to doing things like you used to do, or maybe even better than you used to do. Uncle 60, Uncle 60's here. Hello, Uncle 60. It's been a while. Glad to have you back. He says the Mothman legend is a fascinating tale that has captured the imagination of many. This mysterious creature was first spotted in Point Pleasant in 1966. Right? Keep rolling out of there with those facts. Uncle, you keep putting them down there, and I'll keep painting, and we'll meet in the middle. Did anybody read the book or see the movie? I think I did both. I didn't read the book until a long time after. I think it was maybe even the 2000s when I finally got around to reading the book. But I did a lot of podcasting about it, and I did watch the movie. I didn't think the movie was all that great. I didn't think it was terrible, but I didn't think it was all that great. It was somewhat accurate to the book. Hi, Uncle. I never heard of the Mothman legend. Oh, Sadiqa, you never heard of the Mothman? All right, we're going to fill you in a little bit. And Uncle 60, you correct me where I go wrong. But the Mothman legend really comes up as part of Beverly, you are new to you. Really comes up as part of the history of the town, and one of the things that was happening in the town at that time, and part of the speculation of what Mothman is, if you're a skeptic, let's just say it that way, if you're a skeptic, part of it is that a tanning facility, basically a chemical facility there, was in the process of closing down. It was not profitable, I believe. And there were people who wanted the property and people who wanted them out of there, and they, of course, wanted to stay. And so there was a rather large fight, a political fight in the community. And some say that the whole Mothman thing was a political stunt, not the bridge collapse, of course. I'm not saying that, but was a political stunt put on by either the chemical factory or the people opposed to the chemical factory, and there are pros and cons of blaming on both sides. Regardless, it was a seminal event in the town of Point Pleasant, and it has marked their town for the rest of time, probably. They have erected, it's funny, it's like Roswell, right? In Roswell, UFOs, aliens come, and the first thing the town does is they have a festival in the aliens' honor. Well, Point Pleasant did much the same thing. Is you can go there and you can see a giant Mothman statue right in the center of town, and they have a Mothman festival every year, and they do everything they can to play up Mothman at this point in time. And why would you not? You're in Point Pleasant, which is a beautiful area. However, It is quite rural, and there's not a lot there at this point in time. So they're doing everything they can to get some tourist dollars into their town. Like I said, I certainly cannot blame them that. And a lot of people have fun dressing up as the Mothman and going to the festivals there and enjoying it. So why would the town not want to do that? And if you've never been anywhere near southern Ohio, southeast Ohio, or western Pennsylvania, southwest Pennsylvania, northern West Virginia, it's an area of the country where the Appalachian Mountains start. I say start because I start in growing up. I started in Ohio, and so we would go east to go to West Virginia, or southeast anyways, to go to West Virginia. And so that's where really the hills would start. The hills of Appalachia would start there and continue on. It's really the beginning of hilly country. Like I said, it's very rural. At the time, there was not a whole lot around there other than maybe a truck stop. A highway that went through, and a truck stop would be about it. Not much else. All right, so I think I'm done with my first layer here, and this took a little longer than I thought. I must have dropped a brush. I had a brush bigger than this over here, and I can't find it. I could have been done with this a while ago, but that's okay. It gives me an opportunity to tell some stories. And we've got a few more people coming in, so if you're new here, take a moment and say hello. And actually, even if you're not new here, take a moment and say hello. I love seeing all the return people too. And while I have a moment, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do with this. Okay, Uncle 60 says, ammunition plant, not tanning. Okay, it is important to note that the site was a military munitions facility, not a tanning chemical factory. Okay. All right, well, I got the story a little bit wrong, but that's okay. Uncle 60, thank you for setting me on the straight and narrow. I'm going to do this. Dory's here with us again. I'm going to put, where can I put Dory that she's not going to get all messed up? I'm going to put Dory right over here. There you go. I'll keep Dory right there. So here's what I'm going to do with this. It's in here very light. I'm going to, like I did last week, I'm going to put a moon right up here. We're going to paint the sky around here. Probably the sky is going to be blue or gray, darker than, or I mean lighter in tone than the Mothman, but a dark color. And then we've got a wooded area set aside back here and some lands in front here that maybe we can put like a floating shadow down here. And that's how we're going to tackle this. And so we'll have some light shining from the back, which means we'll have some nice highlights on parts of this, and that gives us a nice way to differentiate some definition on here. I got a lot of onomatopoeia going on tonight, and that's what we're doing. So now I think I'm fairly dry up here. I can start on a moon. I'm going to take my cold yellow and warm it up just a little bit with, and my cold yellow is a Hansa yellow or an Azo yellow. I'm going to warm it up with just a little bit of gamboge. I'm going to put our moon in here, and just like I did last week, if you haven't seen it, if you haven't, I should say, if you haven't seen it, you can go back and watch it in a replay. I think the chupacabra that we did turned out pretty good. It was fun to paint. And I put this first layer on, and then we put some texture on it. So it actually looks like the moon, and there's some craters and crevices on there. But I want to get that on there first of all, so we know what we've got and what we can paint on and what we can paint around. And I think that looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty good. I'm just going to, Have a little extra color on a couple of sides here, and let that, while it's wet, I'm going to let that come in, blend itself in. Hopefully that'll allow us to make it seem a little rounder, or a little more rounder. All right, so we've got our moon, and we've got our Mothman there. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I should say, Uncle 60, anything else we want to, I say we. Anything else you want to add to the Mothman story? I'm not claiming to be a Mothman expert by any stretch. Just someone who grew up hearing stories about it and love spooky monster tales. I want to believe in monsters. I want to believe that there's something kooky out there. And this bothers me as I look at this. My camera right there. Oh, you can just see it. There we go. Okay, it's gone. And I think I can keep that in the center. Let's see. I've got to wait for just a minute because the Mothman is still a little bit wet. So I'm gonna start to get some colors that we can darken this up with a little bit. I'm going to grab a little bit of neutral tint and a little bit of sepia. And between the sepia, the burnt umber, and the neutral tint, I think we're going to end up with kind of an interesting dark color that we can use in some of these dark recesses. And I'm just going to put some of this color on here to give it a try. We'll see how this looks. I think that's a pretty good color. I think I can live with that color. And we've got a really dark pocket right up underneath, and I'm just going to blend it out a little bit. I don't have quite enough color on here, and I wanted to do a bit of a test to see if I was even going to like that color. I think I do. So I'll put it on like that, and we'll start with it in that manner. I've got a little bit more. Let's put a little bit over here too. This comes around. Really is going to stand out around his head. I'm hoping to make it, dark around his head. I want it to stand out quite a bit so we see his features. Yeah, I was worried that this side would still be a little bit wet, and it seems like it is a little bit, but I think we'll get away with it. I think we'll be able to get away with this. I'm going to pull this right on down. Right on down. So now I'm wondering, Uncle 60, I'm wondering where it was that I got the idea that this was a tanning facility. Because I didn't go in and read Wikipedia about it or anything like that. I'm winging it from memory. And I want to say I remember people talking about it as being a tanning facility with many chemicals there. But it very well could be that I'm just getting it mixed up with something else. Very well could be. But I'm curious now. I think what reinvigorated my interest in all of this is listening to, and if anybody else has ever listened to it, you'll know what I mean, were the old Art Bell Coast to Coast shows, right, where Art would have on, he would have on people to come in and talk about any kind of a topic. He had lots of shows on cryptids and talked about them. In fact, we should have talked about Art Bell last week because he was a big Chupacabra fan, and so he was one that really kind of continued to stir my fascination with all of these type of animals. I'm going to say animals. For a long, long time. Okay, so Uncle 60 said something. Let me read what he's got there. I'm just going to blend this out. And again, this, we're early on in blending our colors. We can get away with, not a perfect wash here and there because we're going to go over it again and again and again. So after the military site leaked chemicals, the Mothman became alive from the chemicals, so they say. All right, so there were some chemicals in there. I'm not completely wrong about all of it. Not all of it. Apparently just some of it, but that's, that's on me. All right. And I'm going to continue to add some color here and there as I think we can start to build out his body, make him look three-dimensional, make him look, I don't know if I want to say menacing, but spooky nonetheless. Let's just continue to add some color here and there to it. I'm going to ask, and I don't think I have any right now, but does anybody have any Halloween plans? Halloween is quickly catching up to us. And normally we would have at my house some kind of a Halloween party. Our kids would have friends over, we'd have some friends over. We'd do some generally spooky things. I don't know. We watch a movie. Kids could go out trick-or-treating together. Something like that. Well, I think for my household, that time has come to an end. My kids are a little bit older. They're not necessarily into that anymore, which kind of makes me sad. But that's okay. Things change, and we all change with them. So I don't know that we're doing it again this year or anymore, for that matter. But does anybody else have any plans to do anything exciting for Halloween? Dwayne is here, and Uncle 60 says World War II TNT nitrotoluene, trinitrotoluene, a plant in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. The use of tanning company in the question is a misunderstanding likely due to the confusion between the words TNT and tan. Okay, so I might not have been too far off. I'll take that as a partial victory, mostly a fail, but a partial victory. And but there were definitely chemicals involved in it. Dwayne, hello. Great to see you here. Dwayne, you spent some time kind of in the Midwest. We're having an 80s themed murder mystery party. Oh, that's cool. So I'm curious. For you, Dwayne, have you heard of the Mothman before? Did it make it outside the bounds of Ohio and West Virginia? And then when you answer that, then I want to hear more about this 80s themed party because I might show up. I might have to show up. Beware if you say Mothman 3 times, he'll visit you at night. Have an 80s themed murder mystery party. That sounds fun. That sounds a lot of fun. Hopefully, hopefully you're not trying to figure out who shot JR or anything like that. That was 80s, right? That was Dallas. That was Dallas. Yes, you heard of it. Okay. That was Dallas. Dallas was 80s. Dallas might have been late 70s. I think Dallas was in the 80s. Anybody know when this TV show Dallas was on? I'm trying to remember. We've had our party every year for like 10 years so far. Oh, cool. That's cool. So I'm trying to think. The 80s was a decade. For me, 10 to 20, of course. What happened for me in the 80s? I don't know. I grew up in the middle of nowhere in the 1980s. Very rural. All right, let's see. What are we going to do here? I want to with a little bit. I'm going to lighten this a little bit with my burnt umber. I'm going to put a little shadow on one side of this wing rib. I guess I'm going to call this a wing rib. And then I'm going to blend that out. I'm going to blend it. I'm going to pull that out. I might not even have quite enough color here. I might need a little bit more color. And let this blend out. The original Dallas television show aired on CBS from 78 to 91. Holy cow. That's much longer than I ever thought it was on the air for. It was on for 11 years. 11 years, is that the right math? No, 13 years. 13 years. All right, not only can I not speak today, I can't do any math tonight either. How about that? 13 years, that's crazy. The whole Bobby Ewing in the shower excuse for his death was so campy. Nobody knows the Mothman, but everybody knows Bobby Ewing. That's okay. I remember. I will admit I didn't watch much Dallas. You know, I was younger. I don't even remember my parents watching Dallas, but I do remember it being such a phenom that I did watch the Who Shot JR episode. I remember that just being the biggest thing, and everybody had to watch the Who Shot JR thing. I guess that was that. To me, you know, by the time I was growing up and watching actual TV shows that were anything, to me that was like the last episode of The Sopranos before The Sopranos. Right? What's going to happen to The Sopranos? Everybody watched the last episode of The Sopranos. Everybody I knew anyways watched that. I'm embarrassed to admit that I also watched Knots Landing and Falcon Crest. Wow. Don't be embarrassed. Own it. Why not? It's a TV show. Everybody watched it. It's just a thing. I also remember those. I don't remember ever watching one of those shows. But admittedly, my life wasn't that kind of a thing. I didn't grow up in a city, and I didn't, you know, those were a little adult for me. I was just as happy to watch. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say this, and everybody's gonna have a little laugh. So get ready. I would rather watch BJ and the Bear than Knots Landing or Dallas or anything like that. Or I would rather watch Grizzly Adams growing up. There's another one. Kenya, hello. I watched, what would have been another one that I would have watched? Or that I did watch? Well, the A-Team, of course. Twins, BJ and the Bear. You probably haven't thought of BJ and the Bear in a long, long time. I was such a fan of BJ and the Bear. I got for Christmas one year the BJ and the Bear slot car set. Next painting is the New Jersey Devil. I'm seriously considering it. I'm seriously considering it. So we've got the Mothman. I'm gonna do Bigfoot. Let's see. I'm gonna do Bigfoot. Probably the Loch Ness Monster, maybe. Jersey Devil is another one that I would very much be interested in painting. There are a number of them that I'm really curious to try to paint. I was going to say Grizzly Adams have VCS recordings of it. Oh my Lord. Do you really? I'm definitely coming over then. I'm going to come over dressed as him for your 80s party. I'm going to be Grizzly Adams. Oh man. That's fantastic. Grizzly Adams. Love it. I love it. It made me want to grow up and live in the forest. And I don't know what he ever did for a living. I don't remember anyways. But it didn't matter to me. I wanted to live in a forest with no electricities and play with bears all day. I'm a gal who grew up watching The Twilight Zone. Ooh, the original Star Trek and Combat. Yeah, I'm a big fan. What's really funny is my father turned me on to Star Trek. The TOS, the original series. He would watch it. But he's such an interesting kind of a person. He wouldn't ever draw attention to it that he watched it, or he wouldn't get into conversations about it. You know, I would watch it. It's just one of the things that was going on in my house. And if anybody else at my school ever would have watched it, we're asking questions about it. Did you see it? What's up with this alien? What's up with that alien? My dad was like, just a show. Just something to watch. I'm like, don't you want to talk about it? Don't you want to talk about this or talk about that? Yeah. No. I'm fine with it just being entertainment. I'm like, come on. I want to talk about it. I grew up watching all the Westerns. Kenya. What's a Western that you grew up watching? Now I'm curious. I'm trying to think, did I watch any Westerns growing up? Other than like Blazing Saddles, which was a Western, but it wasn't really a Western. It was a Western, but not a Western. What was it? Or did you not? Were they not contemporary Westerns that you grew up watching? You just watched like Bing Crosby and John Wayne and those kind of. Oh, Bonanza! Oh, holy cow! I forgot. Bonanza. If you want to fight a little fight. Bonanza. If you're gonna fight a little fight with me. Do 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 do. That's the Bonanza theme song, right? I remember Bonanza. Wow, this is like a. I should have done these. I should have done these paintings earlier. This is a fantastic trip down memory lane. High Chaparral, Bonanza, Big Valley. Oh yeah, the Rifleman. Oh, I forgot. A Wagon Train. Oy yi yi. So I know of those. I didn't watch all of those. I did watch some Bonanza, I will admit. But I grew up in a family where we were only allowed to watch a limited amount of Gunsmoke, a limited amount of TV each day. And so if I watched Bonanza, I didn't get to watch BJ and the Bear or Chips or something like that. So I had to pick and choose, sometimes not wisely, what I was going to watch. Wow, I remember all of Gunsmoke. Yes, I totally remember all of these. All right. So as we've been talking, right, and I love the conversation, I've just been adding a few layers and a few layers and a few layers onto this. And I think you can start to see as it's building up, we're starting to get a rounded, a contoured body on this guy. He's starting to look like something. Yes, I know his arm isn't done. Yeah, I know his pectoralis muscles aren't done. So there's more work to be done here. But I think we've got a basis of some coolness going on here. And I think we're going to be able to continue to add on to this. That will really make this interesting. And as long as we continue to use these light layers and add on layer, then we're going to see some cool stuff pop out of this. Beverly says, I remember the opening of Bonanza. The map would go catch on fire and burn up. Right. That's right. That's right. So I'm going to try not to be a grumpy old man and go, I wish they would make cool shows like that anymore. Because I think they do make cool shows. They just don't quite appeal to me the way those ones did back in the day. Yeah, I remember coming home, and if I was really lucky, right, because I was raised in a single parent family, and if I was really lucky, I could beat my mom home. I could get in like a half an hour of TV before she got home, and it wouldn't count against me. And so I would try. Hey, can you take me home? I need to get home by 4 o'clock, or I need to get home by 3:30 or something, knowing my mom's going to be home at 5. This way I can get to watch something else. But then, back in those days, I spent my time on Gilligan's Island. I remember watching. Here's one for you. I remember watching Speed Racer, the cartoon, with Pops and Spritle and Chim Chim and Racer X, and that came on at like 3:30. Actually, it came on the same time as Bob Ross. So if Speed Racer was one I had seen, then it was Bob Ross. And if Bob Ross was one I had seen, then it was Speed Racer. And it kind of battled back and forth between the two. That was all hush hush. I couldn't even mention that I was watching that. And if I had yeah, there you go. Speed Racer was your favorite. And if I had chores to do, and I think we're getting a long way away from Mothman, but that's okay. If I had chores to do, I could watch them all in the kitchen. I could watch all the shows in the kitchen, because the kitchen / dining room, right, is one room, because it was okay. We had a TV that had a 7-inch screen on it. The screen on the TV is the same size as my phone. And it was black and white. And it didn't matter that it was in the kitchen or anything, because we didn't have cable. We had rabbit ears. And so you just, position the rabbit ears right to get that station. We only got 3 stations in my area anyway, so it didn't matter. But it was all good. I could get that extra half an hour in there. Speed Racer, yes. Let's see. Sudika says, I'll be a grumpy old woman and say, I wish they still made shows like them. That's okay. You go ahead and say it. I'm probably not far behind you saying that. I think during COVID time, I started rewatching a whole bunch of those old shows. And I watched, I don't know, I want to say 30 of the old Twilight Zone episodes. They're so good. They're so good. Rod Serling was brilliant. I wish they could redo them and not do them in a today way. Just redo them with today's technology, you could almost keep this exact same script. You could almost do everything exactly the same, but shoot it better, make it less camp. But man, he was so good. He was so ahead of his time. He was so good. And then I rewatched all of the original X-Files one too, right? Oh, they didn't hold up quite as well across, I guess, 30 years, 20 years, as 25 years maybe, as the Twilight Zone held up over 40 years. The Twilight Zone, Rod Serling did such a fantastic job with it. All right, so we've got a little bit more of this guy done. We got some of his wings done. What I'm trying to do really is stay away from the outside here. I've got his legs done, and I think his leg, not done, but to a place where I can stop. I think they're dry enough. Oh, I forgot about this wing over here. Then I was going to start to put on some blue color. I think I'm gonna try that anyways. I'm gonna get an even bigger brush. I've got my golden maple thing here. Do I have a favorite Twilight Zone episode? Okay, I'm gonna have to think about it. Everybody, if you got your favorite, The Outer Limits. I did watch The Outer Limits. If you got your favorite Twilight Zone episode, put it in chat. Anybody who liked Twilight Zone, put it in chat, and I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna try not to look for a minute while I think about what my favorite Twilight Zone episode was. And I'm going to see if I can remember some of these. So I can use, while I'm doing this, I'm using ultramarine blue, right? It's a medium bodied blue. If I add some of this burnt umber to it, burnt umber, I can make my own gray. I can also make it more gray by putting a little bit of Payne's gray in it, if any of that gray talk makes sense. And then I'm going to try to start up here and work my way across the top and down this way. I'm going to see how that works. Actually, I'm going to start down here. I learned this. Start with the smallest possible space here, and then work up and around and come back to that. Let's try that. Okay, so now I'm thinking about my Twilight Zone episodes, and I'm trying to come up with one that I really think was good. And I'm honestly having a hard time. I'm thinking there's I liked this guy went back to his hometown after years, and I don't remember if something happened, but he was at his house looking at his old house, and then went to I want to say he went to a carnival, and when he was at the carnival, all of his old friends were there, but they were kids and he was old. But I'm trying to remember it, and I don't remember how it ended up though. But I just remember going, that was weird. Let's see. My favorite episode was the William Shatner in the plane. Okay, that was cool. Oh, Tia's here. Paybox Life. He was in a few episodes, wasn't he? Twilight Zone, To Serve Men. He kept seeing the creature on the wing of the plane. Wasn't that in Twilight Zone the movie? I thought that was in. Oh no, it wasn't. They also did a plane scene in the movie. That was in the series. And in the movie, Yes, and then he. So if I'm remembering this right, and somebody tell me, he would shut the window, and every time he would open it, they're telling him, "Oh, there's nothing there. There's nothing there." He would open it, and something would be there, and then at the end, he opens the window, and the guy's tearing away at the engine. Is that the right one? Am I thinking of the right episode for that? I think it's something like that. I don't know. There's so many good episodes. So many good episodes. I just want to make sure I'm not dripping paint everywhere on my paint box over there, which I do from time to time, admittedly so. Might have to get a slightly smaller brush to get in there. I don't have quite the hands to get in there. It's been a long day. My hands aren't quite as steady as I'd hope them to be. Let's see, I remember one with Shatner where he goes to a restaurant and keeps getting his future told in a fortune teller. That's cool. That would be cool. It would be cool as long as it was a good fortune. The minute it's not a good fortune, it would be terrible. No, I don't want to have a bad fortune. No. Just give me the good fortune. That's the one I want. That's the one everybody wants. Okay, so what's working and one of the things that I thought would work is when we mix this blue gray up, right? It's a nice cold color. Right? This blue gray is a nice cold color here, and with that undertone, that really light, nice undertone on this guy, we have this is a nice warm undertone. That burnt umber, delightfully warm, and it's helping. That cold versus warm thing is going to really help him pop off the page, which he is doing. Look at him. He's popping right off the page here. So the only thing we have to do is be careful, because while that sepia that I used in here is still a warm color, it is a cooler color than the burnt umber. I mean, it's much cooler than that. And not like cool, like, hey, that's pretty cool. Cool is in a cold color. Not by a lot, but by enough. Oh, I went right over his arm. Oh, now I took color off everywhere. Okay, that's okay. Now, I want to draw everybody's attention to this. This is 2 weeks in a row I've painted a background. I've gone for months in a row without painting a background, and then this is 2 weeks in a row and I've painted a background. I think I'm getting soft in my old age. I should just say, well, no, it's the Mothman, and there he is, and that's good enough. We can all accept the Mothman is the Mothman. We know what it is. We don't need any other context around this imagery. But for some reason, I'm going ahead and painting everything around the imagery. Why am I doing that? I have to think about that for a minute. Let's see. Let's see. Tia says that was a great one. I like the one where Burgess Meredith, who liked to read and ended up reading in a book vault when a nuclear bomb was dropped. Oh wow. And then he came out and he's like, "What happened?" I'm sure. Burgess Meredith. Burgess, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. he cannot still be with us, right? How about wishing someone way into the cornfield? I don't know how well, Rod Serling came up with all of these ideas. But I believe, and I could be wrong about it, I believe almost everything in the Twilight Zone was all Rod Serling. They had other writers that would help maybe flesh a few things out, but for the most part, it was Rod's idea and Rod's storyline and everything, right? He was it. I believe. I don't believe he got too much help from the studios on it. All right. Oof. This is why I don't do backgrounds. Look at all this fine work I've got to do in here. I'd rather just slap on some color and be done with it. But I'm trying to get those white lines out of there. And this is on a bad side for me. This is on that left-hand side where I don't paint a lot. And I've got this wet. I can't rest my hand over there. It's difficult. It's tough. It's tough to do. You just have to take your time and get through it. And we'll do it. I actually looked at this drawing about 3 or 4 days ago. And I went, what am I going to do with this? This is going to take 20 minutes and I'm going to be done with it. And then I looked at it about an hour. I started getting ready for this about an hour before this. And then I had to go and run some errands. So I had to set it down and come back. But I looked at it and I went, I think I want to do another moon in here. So I drew that in. And I'm like, no, I want to put a forest line or a field line back here too. And then I'm like, oh, then I want to do this other thing. And then about 5 minutes before I hit the broadcast button, I looked at it and I went, this is going to take me like 15 hours to paint this. No, not 15, not anywhere near 15. And when we're done with it, it's going to turn out, it's going to be cool. We'll be glad we put this this sky in here, because it's going to add a lot to this painting. It really is going to add a lot to it. There we go. Who said, I think I need to start rewatching Twilight Zones now. I think, I forget I've seen them on, I don't know if they're on Hulu or they are available on some service. I'm not exactly sure which one. I saw a documentary about the Twilight Zone. Turns out Sterling was using sci-fi as a way to make social commentaries. That's true. Well, that happened in a lot of sci-fi. I think he blazed the trail about that. Same Kenya from Dwayne, meaning needs to start rewatching some of those old Twilight Zones. Time for family movie nights to binge the Twilight Zone. There you go. We found one. It says we found one of the DVDs in the bargain bin at a number of years ago. So that's why so many stick out in your skull. Okay, cool. Leading up to Halloween, it's a good month for it. That's true. Okay. So things I've learned already. I don't do well. Look, my moon is no longer round, which is terrible, but I guess not completely unexpected. And we need to add some more color in here. I'm going to darken this. Give me a little bit of this neutral. A little bit of that sepia. I want something that's a little bit darker, because I'm going to put it here. I want this part, this back side of this wing to be really dark back there. I want that to stick out. And I hope I didn't make it too dark. But I want it to be known when you view this, that's not on the front side. That's on the back side. His wing's got some thickness to it right there. There you go. So that looks like, you can see it comes up and goes down, comes up and goes down like that a little bit. That's what I want. I want that there. I want to make sure that's there. And now, as we go through this, now we can really darken some of these colors up. Right? This is probably layer number 4. Did you guys, I hope you guys weren't seeing my head in there again. Probably layer number 4 up here, if we were really keeping count. Something like that. Art by Carlos is here. Carlos, welcome. It's been a while. I'm glad you could make it. Good to see you here. For anybody who doesn't know, Carlos streams here and on Twitch. Does watercolor paintings. And so it's always good to have a fellow artist here. And like I said, it's been a while since you've been in one of my streams. Glad to have you back. Have you painted anything cool lately that maybe we haven't seen? And I will go and grab, when I get to a stopping point, I'll go and grab your channels and put links to them in chat for you, so everybody can go and take a look at some of the things you've done. Okay, cool. You changed the days you stream, so you can be here. So you might be here more, not so you could be here more, which would also be cool. So you might be here more, which is awesome. It'd be great to have you here. So I'm trying to add some. I want to be cognizant of some light coming in this way. I got a couple of things I'm working on here. I just want to let everybody know what I'm working on here. We've got light coming in this way, so I want to leave a highlight on the top sides of a lot of things, or this side of a lot of things, which means making the other side much darker. And that's all well and good until we get to something like, and I apologize, I'm concentrating while I'm trying to talk. Always a difficult thing to do. Just talk and paint at the same time. But I have to be conscious of the fact that, like, this arm in reality would probably be in deep shade, right? Because this wing is actually covering it. So I'm gonna take a little artistic license, and I'm going to make that arm a lot lighter, at least on the back side, but probably most of it. And if I make this arm lighter than his body down here, then I can really make it stand out. So even though I want some of it to be dark and some of it to be light, it's a give and take in there. Jennifer is here. Welcome, Jennifer. Good to see you too. Wow. Got a lot of people stopping in. I'm glad to see that. And a lot of people saying hello. I love to see that. Just let me see if I can grab. Ooh. A link here for you all. Why is this not working the way I want it to? Here it is. Copy and paste. So there is, if I've done it right, there you go. That is Carlos's YouTube channel. Like I said, if you want to go over and say hi to him over there one day when he's painting, or jump over there and subscribe and then jump on back, that'd be an awesome thing to do. I'm sure he would appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to mix up a dark green here. I don't want this to be totally green. I don't want it to be totally blue, but somewhere in between, a dark color. And I'm going to use this for, let me make sure, well, it's not quite dry enough. I'm going to put some foliage out here, you know, just the outline of some trees back behind him. Well, I've got my color mixed up here. I'm going to leave it be for a moment. It's that background is still a little bit too wet. And I'm going to come back in and let's see. I'm going to start on his arm, this arm, and I know I can be really dark under here, and it's got to lighten a little bit or not be too dark as it gets over to the wing over there, and it's got to be darker. This is the other thing. It's got to be darker than I'm going to paint his face. So, got a couple of things working there that we're trying to take care of all at once. Jennifer, I should say Jennifer, we're all talking, or we have been talking about, and Carlos, you too, you're in on this too. If you've ever watched the old Rod Serling Twilight Zone episodes, what is your favorite episode? That's a big question for tonight. What's your favorite Twilight Zone episode? If you've watched it. If you haven't watched it, that's cool. If you haven't watched it, it's totally fine. You won't have an answer to it. Doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It just means you don't have an answer to that question. Not a big deal. You actually stream on Twitch more these days. Okay, you know what? You're right. I've caught you on Twitch several times. I will go. Oh, I think I did this too quickly, and that's still just a little bit wet in there. There we go. And I think I can find, copy, and paste. There is, if you want to see Carlos on Twitch, there is his channel over on Twitch, so you can make your way there. If you've got an account on Twitch, you can go over and subscribe to his channel over there, and then hopefully you come right back here. Let's see. My favorite is one where William Shatner's on a plane and the weird guy on the wing. That's a good one. That one's been mentioned as other people's favorites too. It's a great episode. And Jennifer says, I don't remember the title, but it was the end of the world, and the only man left alive was the guy who wanted to read and broke his only pair of glasses. Oh, man. Rod Serling's a mean guy. That's pretty bad. That would be horrible. Cool. So, cool. Thank you for partaking in that. Some cool episodes. And I don't even know. Oh, I guess I do know how we got around to talking about that. What I'm not sure is how we got to that from the Mothman. But we ended up talking about old TV shows and what we liked and what we didn't like. And we just kind of landed on, landed on the Twilight Zone. And good that we did. Most people have seen a few episodes of it. It's a seminal show in the history of television. I think everybody should watch a few episodes to understand, not necessarily the show, but how the show impacted life at that time, or how it represented life too here at the time, or common thoughts. That's not fair. It's not fair. Yeah, it was the heartbreaking one for the book nerds. That would be completely heartbreaking. Oh, I don't know what I would do. I guess he didn't have a phone with him, and he couldn't listen to any podcast or something like that too, right? Rod probably left that out. He wasn't thinking about that. And I got to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. I remember one. So I remember all the weirdo spacey ones. Guy got stranded on a distant planet, and he got stranded there and sent an SOS, and the SOS said it's going to be, X amount of months or years until they can come and pick him up. And the only other thing on the planet was an alien that took the form of a human woman, and she was doing dishes for him and cooking dinner for him, and when it was time to go, he was like, I don't know if I want to go. He wanted to stay with her, but he wanted to go back and be with his people, and I don't know, it was an interesting, odd dilemma that he had to go through. I remember that one. I don't remember the mannequins. Tia, tell me about the mannequins. Jennifer says, bless you. Thank you. Thank you. I also like the one with Elizabeth Montgomery and Charles Bronson. They were two soldiers fighting on opposite sides. Sika says she was a robot. Oh, the one I'm talking about. She was a robot. Okay, maybe that's it. Again, my memory is not what it used to be. And it never was very good. Yeah. But you remember the episode. At least I have parts of the episode right. Oh, and that's right. And he could go back, but there wasn't enough room in the shuttle or something to take her along with him. So he had to decide it was either him and leave her or stay with her. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know who said it. Sudike? Maybe. Yeah, they did a lot of stuff that posed these weird ethical or, dilemmas, or put the people in strange social situations that were a commentary on our time, or the time that was taking place. And that was one of the things that was really so cool about it. Okay, look, my Mothman is coming to life here. I might have a little too much color on his leg down here, but we can correct that. A little extra TLC on there to take care of some of that color. I think we'll be fine. But I think he's starting to look good. He's really getting there. He's looking like he's got a body to him, right? He looks like there's something there to him. He's not just something floating in the air. There's mass to him. There's density to him. Now I'm sounding like Marty McFly. You're my density. Spoiler alert. Mall employees take turns taking a month off once a year, and it turns out they were the mannequins. Oh, that's horrible. I mean, not unexpected. Not unexpected, Rod. Okay, all right. Really, I think we're getting somewhere. And now I think I can get into my color here. And I don't even know where I had my line drawn. I don't want to cut it directly in half. I'm going to go just below the halfway line here and put in some trees. All right, Bob Ross would say just some happy trees in here. I don't know that they're necessarily happy trees, but just a tree line in here, something that's going to break up everything behind this. And what I do need to have is a line down here where the ground is. And then I can fill in everything else here. And I think it probably looked a little goofy when I just had that top line in there, but probably it's going to look better when I get this bottom line in. Something like that. And if we need to, we can add a little bit more color here or there. Or we can add a little bit more blue here and there too. Oops, I guess maybe, there we go. Let's blend that in a little bit. Add a little bit of extra color in here. Maybe a couple of these areas are a little denser than others. That's the way I always think of it. So if there's a little bit more color in one area, that's probably just a little bit of a denser piece of the foliage is all. Uh-oh. Dwayne said, Mothman is looking good. I have to go. 7-hour drive back to Alabama from Kentucky in the morning. Woo! Watch the rest later. Dwayne, please go get some sleep. Drive safe. Have a wonderful drive. I'm guessing that means you're up there visiting your daughter. I hope everything was great. I hope you had a wonderful time. Thank you for taking the time to stop by and spend some time with us. And please, 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 get home safe, if you would. But please, yes, please go and enjoy the rest of what time you have. And we'll see you back here next week with any luck. I know you'll be here. There we go. There's my distant tree line. A little bit more blue over here. That's okay. That's okay. And where's that line? Somewhere in there. Cool. Now I just paint down to that. Pull that color straight on down. And now here's the thing I always think is funny. Now, this is distant. This is, back there, back in the back. It's all gray. This is a long way away. Do these trees cast shadows? If they do I need to paint them on here? Should I paint them on here? I never know. What I am going to do is just pull that down a little bit like this. I want a little bit of that line to stay. And I don't want my ground to be totally blue up here. In fact, give me some of this brown. I was hoping I would get a little bit of that hard edge in there. That's okay. Whatever we make this, whatever this looks like, this is going to be right. I will say, I do like to have a little bit of a warmer color. So I put some of that brown right up here. I like to have a little bit of that warmer color right up front. That warmer color up front doesn't do much more than just pull it forward. Right, we've got all this cold color in the sky. Right, this blue is cold back here. Whoops. Let me pull this down and you can see. This is cold. That's blue. It looks far away. There's a little blue in there. It looks further back. We put some warmth in here. Pulls it right up into the front. Pulls it right up into the front. Okay, and if I put a little line back there, right, there's the line of the forest back there. Good, good, good. All right, I'm gonna not I'm gonna not play with it. You all know backgrounds aren't my strongest suit. That little line that I put on in that I will give all credit to Bob Ross. He used to do this with water lines all the time. You don't need much. You put a little line there. It adds just enough definition to break up where the trees go this way and the land goes this way. That little line is all you need. It doesn't have to be much, but it's got to be there. All right, now I put green on there. I didn't want to put green on there. Okay, so, all right, I think we're doing good. We got something that's looking really good. I like the direction we're going with this. I actually like this little bit. If you can see what I put in there. Just a little extra line. Makes it look like there's actually one extra fold of something in there. I think it looks really nice. I'm going to put some more here on the back side. I'm going to add quite a bit of color here on the back side. This is on the back side of that wing. What else do we need to talk about? Where's the light of the moon? Where is the light of the moon? The light of the moon is, at this moment, completely in my imagination. There's no real light of the moon. I'm using the moon as a way to say any light source is going to be on this side of the creature. So this side of the wing is going to be darker than that side. Inside the wing is going to be darker than this bit up here. Right? That's why I've got the light part on his leg and on his body. The light part on his leg and on his body, because the light is kind of coming in at this angle. Yes, it's not completely true to form, because in my instance, the light would kind of be coming in from this way instead of from behind him. But I need to take a little bit of artistic license to help that whole process out a little bit. So that's what's going on with it. That's the light of the moon. It's not really the light of the moon, right? It's kind of the light of my imagination. So, Jennifer, great question. I love the question. Please keep asking those questions, because you know what? If you ask those questions, it's going to help you understand why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. It's going to help me understand the way that I'm doing it. And so often, I'll do something and go, oh, this is exactly what I wanted. And I'll think it in my mind. Yeah, this is right. And then put it on paper, and you ask me, why did you do it that way? And I go, oh, wow. You know what? That doesn't make sense at all. You're exactly right. I should have done that a totally different way. So don't stop asking the question. It was a great question. And now what do I want to do? Okay, so I'm gonna start working on his face here a little bit. Mostly because this end down is wet. And I can kind of come up here and do a little bit of work on his face, I think. I often think that artist, what do you want to call it? Artist license. That's what I'm trying to say. Artist license has a lot to do with your art, right? If you're painting something that you want to be, photorealistic, then cool, you probably need to pay close attention to, the lighting and everything like that. You want to paint something that has a cool look to it, don't worry about it. And I'm not saying, well, all of my stuff has this cool look to it because I don't pay attention to it. That's not in any way, shape, or form what I'm trying to say, but oftentimes when you're doing a painting, you need to take a few liberties in order to get your point across, whatever it is you're trying to do, right? So for me, part of that is making sure I've got some dimensionality to the body and a consistent way that the light is coming in, even though it's not necessarily coming straight from here. And that's all I'm really trying to get into this. And is it really going to matter in the end if it's exactly right? I don't think so. I think it's going to look interesting regardless of where the lighting's coming in at. But I do want to be somewhat consistent, and even down here, right? If we had a light coming in this way, this would be much lighter in here. But I'm keeping it dark because I think it's going to look a little bit better being darker. It's going to be have a little bit more consistency with the way it looks. I think. I could be wrong. And I'm going to paint a little bit on his. I don't know what to call this. What do you call this? A rib? Like a wing rib? Paint a little bit on there. That's going to help, hopefully, make his head stand out a little bit. Oh, he's getting scarier. he's definitely getting scarier already. Holy cow! You look terrible, guy. I don't know why you want to look like that. So Jennifer, please, like I said, please continue to ask the questions. Great question. And you probably haven't heard my spiel before. I love talking about watercolor painting. I love doing watercolor painting. But I love talking about watercolor painting because it's an art form that I think gets a bad rap. Everybody goes, it's so hard to do. It's so terrible. I don't know how anybody could do it. It's so unforgiving. And sometimes yes, sometimes no. But what I like to do is help everybody out to make it a little bit easier for them so we can all enjoy something that I like to do a little bit more. I'm being a little selfish. I want everybody to like watercolor painting as much as I do. So if I can help out with that in any way, shape, or form, then I love doing that. It's one of the reasons I do this. And I want to spread watercolor love to everybody. I want everybody to like it as much as I do. And if that means I need to talk about it to demystify a few things, awesome. I'm more than happy to do that. And if you were on, I shouldn't say this, but if you're a member of my team at my work, sorry, you get to hear me talk about watercolors here and at work. Sorry, guys. But I do. I thoroughly enjoy watercolor painting. I think it is a fascinating medium. I know of no other medium that is as versatile as watercolors, is as easy to set up, is as easy to tear down, is as cheap, and can give you such fascinating ranges of imagery as watercolor painting. There's not another medium like that. Right? You can, for $20, you can buy a pretty good tin of watercolor paints. Right? They may not be the tubes like I use. This is olive green, and this tube probably cost me $15, but it lasted me 10 years. Yeah, okay, cool. But you can go out and you can buy a Winsor Newton Cotman. You can buy an Art Whale. You can buy who's the I always think it's Pee-wee. Who's the guy who Paul Rubens. You can buy Paul Rubens' set of paints. They're fantastic paints, and they're relatively cheap. They're going to cost you between $15 and $30 for those paints. It's a fantastic set of paints. You can get it out. I should say, hang on. And you can get a set of brushes. And maybe not these ones, but you can get some snap brushes or something like that. A good set of snap brushes. You'll be able to use them for years and years and years for $20. So for $40, basically, you can get brushes and paint. Throw in another 10 for some paper, and you're off and painting. You throw it in your backpack, you throw it in your purse, you throw it in your car, you do whatever. You can take it with you, and in a matter of moments, you're driving through the forest and you see something fascinating. You want to do a painting of it. Cool. You pull it out. In 5 minutes, you're set up and you're painting. You try to do that with oil, not going to happen. You got 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour before you're set up. Acrylics, you got to get out all the different ones. You got to pour them into different things. Forget about it. Watercolor's so much better. $10 for paper. What brand? Well, okay, so you can get some $10 paper. It's not going to be Arches, although if you bought a pad of Arches like this, you can get it on Amazon on sale for $17. But I'll bet you could get on sale. I bet you could get a pad of Strathmore 300 or 400 series paper for little more than $10. Well, let's take a look. I'm going to take a look. I'm going to let his hands dry here a little bit. I'm going to do a test. I'm going to open up Amazon, and unfortunately, you guys are going to have to take my word for it because I don't have it set up. But I'm going to Amazon.com, and I'm going to type in Strathmore watercolor paper, and here's a book of it, 10 by 12, 32 sheets, and yeah, 10 by 12 paper, 32 sheets of paper, $15. Not fair today's Prime Week. Okay, so fair point. Here you go. Okay, this one is not on sale for Prime Week. 400 series watercolor block, cold pressed, 9 by 12, which is this size. 15 sheets of paper, $11.87. So you can get some paper that is, relatively good and relatively inexpensive. And if you were to find that one on sale, that would be, even a better deal. So it's out there. It's available. All right, $10 may have been $1.50 low, but is that pulp-based? It is pulp-based paper. It is. And with all pulp-based paper, you kind of have to take it for what it's worth. I get that. But if you're trying to learn watercolors and you want to get some paint on paper, and you're not trying to put anything in the Louvre or anything like that, nothing wrong with it. I used it for years. I've painted some fantastic things on it. Do I use it now? No. I have moved on to different papers, but I still have some, and I do still use some. In fact, I have a journal of it, and when I go on vacations, that's one of the journals I take. It's a convenient size. It's not quite this big. It's a little shorter than this. Folds out almost flat. It's fantastic. And I take it. I nature journal and use mixed media paper. There you go. Mixed media paper can be, what am I trying to say? It can be cotton, but most mixed media paper isn't. Most mixed media paper that you get, I would say, is probably pulp paper, cotton or wood pulp paper. There's nothing wrong with wood pulp paper. It's just you paint on it slightly differently. That's all. And you never know, you might find a bargain of the century on Amazon one day and get, 3 or 4 packs of Arches watercolor paper for almost nothing. Yeah, you never know. You never know. It could totally happen. Or you could be like me. You're going to go to an estate sale, and it's the estate sale for a local artist, and they just happen to be selling, all of their old watercolor paper for pennies on a dollar, and you buy all of it. And you buy it all because it's really great paper and you can't pass it up. Come on, this is not drying like I want. Okay, there we go. And let's see, I got a little bit more detail to do on this arm here. Let's see, I can come back here. I'm gonna try to do a little bit darker. I'm gonna try and do a little bit more in each turn here. It's a little bit darker. And if you see me reach off to the side over here, Jennifer, I'm going to show you what I got over here. I've got an old chamois here that soaks up water and some old sponges that soak up water. I dip my brush in my water, then I tap it on that, and then I have another paper towel up there also. I'm very particular about the water level in my brushes, and so I'm constantly trying to keep those at the water level that I prefer them to be at. And that's totally a me thing. That's not an anybody else thing. Other people are much more willing to use much more water than I am, and I'm just not. I can't do it. I have a preferred level, and if I am not at that level, it feels like I have difficulty. You struggle with water control. I think what you should realize is that's a completely natural thing to struggle with. Everybody struggles with water control. Everybody. Whether you're a beginner or whether you're Alvaro Castagnet, whether you're John Singer Sargent, whether you're Turner, it doesn't matter. You're going to struggle with water control. How do you get better at water control? Practice and really working to understand the amount of water that's on your brush. I would suggest limiting your brush selection to 1 or 2 brushes, or at least brushes from the same line, same manufacturer, same line, so you understand how much moisture these bristles carry. These are golden Takalon bristles in here. They carry a certain amount of moisture, and it's very predictable whether it's this size, which is a 10, or I don't know what this I guess I do know what this one is. This is a 6, or whether it's a 4. It's very predictable. This one is a squirrel hair brush. Squirrel hair carries a lot more water. I don't know that I would suggest this to a beginner unless you're doing something in a very wet painting. And it's definitely not switching back and forth between the two because it's quite difficult to use. Natural or synthetic. These ones are synthetic. Golden tackle on synthetic. This one I have here is squirrel hair. That's a natural squirrel hair. And I've got I don't know, 100 brushes in the studio. All of them have different hairs in them. I've got Kolinsky hair brushes. I've got squirrel hair. I've got camel hair. I've got wolf hair brushes. I've got, I don't know what else I have. I got everything you can think of. And they're all sheep, goat. Did I say goat? I don't know. They're all a little different. There's nothing wrong with any of them. It just takes a moment to get used to them. If you're starting out and you're looking for something, I would say get a synthetic brush. Not because they're necessarily better, but they're definitely cheaper. Sounds like a hairy situation. Bum. I've shown brushes before. Let me see. Wait. Here are some. Here are some. And here's one that I'm using. It's brand new, still in the container. You can see that it is golden, right? I have a husky that sheds constantly. Like, make a big dog brush. There you go. Let's see. That is goat. That is sheep. That is faux squirrel. That is actual squirrel. That is cheap sable. That is camel. Oh, that one might be horse. That one might be horse. This one is squirrel. Anyway, you get the idea. Lots of different brushes. Oh, come on. Lots of different brushes. They all hold different amounts of water. They all release water differently. That's why if you're trying to learn water control, learn it on one brush first, then work into other brushes. It's just a lot easier. It's a lot easier. Okay, I want to do this because I've been wanting to do this since we started this. I usually I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it like that. With my little tiny brush. I usually paint my eyes last, but I don't know if I can pass it up on this guy. I want to get these big red eyeballs in there. I want to see what he looks like. I have to see what he looks like. I'm hoping he's really going to look menacing. And I'm thinking about, and you guys tell me what you think, I'm thinking about giving him some really dark, almost black lips. The other thing I do, Jennifer, that you might want to note is I think it's not a big deal, and some people do and some people don't. But you'll see me turn my page a lot, and I move my page all over my desk as I'm painting it. I would say don't be afraid to do that. As you have experienced, watercolor painting can be difficult. Let's not make it more difficult by forcing it into one stationary spot. Move the paper around. Do what's going to be best for you. Figure out what is going to make your life easiest, and go with that. In fact, if I could give no other advice, that might be the one real piece of advice I give anybody. Don't try to force yourself to paint in any one specific way, because it's difficult. It's hard enough to paint sometimes anyways. Turn it to make your brush strokes as easy for you as possible, so you can view it as best possible. Take every step you can to make it as easy for yourself, to make your painting as good as it can be for your viewers. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Let's say a lovely bird nesting. Lovely bird nest that you're talking about. Bird nest of brushes there. I have been called many times a brush snob, and that probably fits. Well, it fits somewhat anyways. I never worry about the brand of brush that I use. I just want to use a brush that's going to work really well. If I can find a brush that works really well in an off-brand brush, I'm all for it. I get an awesome brush and I get to save a few dollars. I'm all for it. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Often what it means is you end up spending a few extra dollars to test out some brushes that you have high hopes for, and sometimes it doesn't work out. So be it. So be it, right? I have a Winsor & Newton Series 7 brush. Winsor & Newton Series 7 brush cost me a lot of money. Cost me a lot of money. And you'll never see me use it, because it turns out to be not, for me, the best brush. But I didn't know that until after I had purchased it. So I'll use these King Art brushes that I think are absolutely fantastic. These work for me. They work in the way that I paint. They have the point that I need on them. For me, these are wonderful brushes. Are they the best brushes in the world? Nope. If I am going to paint something in a looser style, would I use these? Nope. Did I learn on these? Nope. Taught myself more on these. More. Did I just call myself a moron? I taught myself more by using these and having to control this water, but it's much more difficult than controlling the water on these. Anyway, it's matching the brush to the application that you want to use, but you'll get to that. You'll absolutely get to that if you stick with watercolor painting. If you get tired of it because it's frustrating and it's hard and everything looks all washed out, you won't stick with it. And I'd rather you stick with it. And my advice to help keep you sticking with it is to stick with a subset of brushes. I think I just rambled on and probably said nothing new in that whole sentence, and it took 15 minutes. I'm more off than on. I've hit a few Michaels sales for brushes. All right, cool. I'm not even sure what brushes Michaels has, to tell you the truth. Let's see, Tia. Oh, I missed something. Tia said, Jennifer C. Double Shedder. I had a similar brush. Once brushed her, and then the entire neighborhood was filled with wasps of floating hair like cottonwood trees. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so now, let's see. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put let me get a nice thick mixture here. I'm going to put a few, I don't know. I was going to put a few curls. Yeah, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to put a little something in here. Like this. Let me see if I can pull this out a little bit. I've got that big area. I had meant to do this. Now I can get a little bit warmer in there. A little darker, a little cooler at the top, a little warmer as we pull this out. And here's the thing, if I got too much moisture in there, I can always pull a little bit of that water out of there. But I do want these colors to mix a little bit. Try to get happy in there. Because when it dries and they're happy, they're going to look a lot better. And I'm going to do a similar thing right over here. Something like that, right? This one's more turned right towards us. This one is, so it's kind of more like this. That's why that one's a lot thinner than that one. Does that make sense? I don't know. I think that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. I don't know if it makes sense on the paper. All right. And now we get, got some nails to do, don't I? Somebody let me not do some nails here. Let's do some nails. Nail. You know what? Nailed it. I couldn't pass that up. Couldn't pass it up. Nailed it. It was too easy. Uh-oh. Kenny said something I said makes sense. The brushes thing, that makes sense? It should. That's not rocket surgery, right? That's trying to understand the tools that you need to use, right? You're never going to get to master watercolors if you don't have a better understanding of your tools. And the only way you can get an understanding of your tool, a better understanding of your tools, is if you start slow and build from there. I jumped around a lot, and I think that limited my early understanding of watercolors in many ways. It probably helped more in some ways, but it definitely limited it in some ways, in that I couldn't focus on what was going on the page because I was always fighting with what was happening, between the water cup and the brush. I think it just caused a lot of consternation that I probably didn't need as I was learning. And so I'm willing to tell everybody, look, you don't need to make the same mistakes I've made in watercolor painting. You can make your own mistakes, but there are plenty of places to make mistakes. Feel free to not join in on the mistakes I made, if that makes any sense to anybody. Oh, let's see. I'm going to give him, I'm looking at him. I'm trying to do a little evaluation while I'm looking at this. So I've got a little bit of brown on that side, on this wing coming off. I want to put a little bit of brown on this side to match it. And I might end up putting just a general glaze of this brown on everything. Right, that might make a lot of sense. It's pretty white right now. I don't hate it, but it's pretty light. And I'm not sure we need it to be quite that light. You know what I can do while I'm waiting is I can take my neutral tint, my neutral tint, toss maybe a little bit of green in there. Let's just tint it a little green. If I can grab it, there we go. Light, 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 and he's floating, right? He's floating. So light coming down this way, shadow is gonna start here. Let's see, shadow starts there, something like that. Let's give a wing shadow. We don't need anything on that side. He's got some legs here. Does that look anything like his shadow? Doesn't have to be perfect. There you go. There's his shadow. He's floating now. He's floating in the lights coming down. We can see. There you go, something like that. I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to admit to cheating. I'm going to outline his eyes. I want his eyes to stand out a little bit, so I'm going to outline those just a bit, and I think we should give him a little bit of a highlight on there too. I don't care if it's dark or light, that usually helps a little bit. And I think I'm not going to make the whole thing. Let's see, give me a brush that's going to match this size, this little smaller one. I think I'm not going to do all of this lighter, but I'm going to do some of this lighter. Some of this darker. Give me a little bit of color over here too. I don't think the Mothman would have. Maybe he would have such light colors on here. We just put a quick little glaze on top of everything. Quick. Not much. A lot of water on this. A little bit of paint. A lot of water, a little bit of paint. Bring this up. That's probably far enough. Yeah, maybe we'll darken this even a little bit more down here. A little bit more. Yep. Okay. I can live with that. Can totally live with that. Get some nice color down there. As it comes up to the top, gets a little bit lighter up here. Can live with this. I'm trying to dry my brush off. That's the other Jennifer, that's the other thing, is understand that you can brush paint two ways. If you're trying to make a graded wash or a graduated wash, however you want to call it, whoop, you can paint two ways. Give me a color, any color. You can paint this way and thin things out as you go. Right? Which is what everybody teaches you to do if you've ever taken a class. And you can move paint that way. And if you need to pull more paint out, you grab some more paint here and you pull it out, and there it goes. I just pulled that little bit out. What they don't tell you is you can also push that paint back in, right? You don't want that paint to be out there. You want that paint to be back in there. You can push it right back in. Look, I just took that whole line and push it back that way. Paint goes two ways. So now we have our nice graded wash again. So if you're ever in a spot and you pull some paint out and it goes out too far and you go, that looks weird. No, as long as it's wet, you can push it back in there the other way. Let's see. It is hard. Sega says it is hard to learn, but when something works, it keeps you going. Absolutely. And we always should be willing to stop and revel in our successes. I'm sorry, that was just off. There's a lot out there that is difficult to do. So when we are able to accomplish something, we do something that looks fantastic, take a moment and pat yourself on the back. Just go, you know what? I just did that. That was awesome. That was hard to do. And I just did it. and then redo it. Do it again. Seriously. And then do it a second time. If you do it a second time, it's not a fluke. You do it a second time, that means you got it. You understand it. And believe me, I'm not trying to preach from on high, because I do all of those things all the time myself. I'm always going, oh man, I think I screwed this up. Did I mean to do this way? I think I wanted to do this that way. And then I've got to step back and go, okay, hold on a minute. Let me take a look at this a different way. Let me see how I do this. Happens all the time. All the time. Not a big deal. Everybody struggles all the time. Not a big deal. So I'm a big fan of the watercolor artist Alvaro Castagnet. I've talked about him on here before. I think he is one of the best watercolor artists on the planet today. Unbelievably good with watercolors. And I've watched him stand up in front of a crowd of people. And I was thinking about if I want to do anything else with his body here. I'm not exactly sure I do. Anyways, I've seen him stand up in front of a crowd of people doing a demonstration, put some water and some paint on a piece of paper, and then go, oh, that is not what I wanted to do. And then he's got to figure it out how to either backtrack from there or incorporate what he just did into the rest of his painting. And he barely even slows down. Off he goes. Make a mistake, do it 3 times, it's jazz. That's funny. I actually put some of my first works away and pulled it out recently, and it was kind of surprised it wasn't as bad as I thought. There you go. There you go. I do that all the time. I've got stacks of stuff up here, and I pull it out and I go, that's not so bad. What is this? Look at this. This is this is a piece of Strathmore watercolor paper. That's pretty bad on the back side. Well, there's no sizing on the back side. Other than the fact that this happens to be Dorn's restaurant. You can almost see up here. This is a restaurant, kind of, if you go down to the end of my street and turn to the left, it's at the end of that street. This is about 3/4 of a mile from my house. I could take this and put another layer of paint on it, and this whole thing would pop off. And this is from 10 years ago. I think actually, I don't think I can, because it feels like it's got wax on it. But if I were to do it, I could touch some of this stuff up, really punch up some colors here, punch up some colors here, make this whole thing stand out. Most of the art that you're going to do is not nearly as bad as you think it is when you do it. You get done with it and you go, that's not what I wanted to do. And because it's not exactly what you wanted to do, then you go, oh, it's not whatever. Yeah. It's all fine. It's all good. Okay, I'm going to sign this guy. I think I'm going to be done with Mothman. And to tell you the truth, I think he kind of looks like a moth. I mean, he's got his big scary hands. But he's kind of floating there, and he's got a moth look to him, doesn't he? I think he does. More than that guy, that black, I guess that's a black and white drawing. I like his wings a little bit better, but I like the body of this guy so much better. And, a couple of goods and bads here. This arm, lighter than that back there. I can definitely tell this is in shadow. This is in front of that because it's lighter. And then coming onto his body, I was worried that these two bits, his bicep here and his torso, his rib cage here, would kind of run together. That dark line. And if you're trying to make something look round, you need to have a shadow line on the top side and on the bottom side. That kind of gives him the appearance of being, thick and full of something, right? And it carries down along his legs. This leg looks like there's some real dimension to it. Over here, his head definitely sticks out of the paper in front of this wing. It's part to do with that color and part to do with this color. I think that looks great. His hand here, because it's so dark, you could tell it's in front of this. So a lot of layers of that light and dark back there. And I'm betting that you all were thinking when I put the trees on there that it looked a little goofy when I did it. But look at it now. It's not, it's enough that you recognize what it is. It's a tree line back there, right? That's what it looks like. It's got this little tiny, this really soft, subtle line here, but it's enough to separate this bluer green color from this greener green color. That line right there. It's a break for your eyes. And if you look at it now, I bet you'll notice it. It's a break for your eyes to know that those are standing upright and this is coming towards you. He's got a little shadow here. So we know that he's floating in the air, and that is coming down from the moon up there. All in all, I actually kind of like it. I think it turned out pretty good. So with that, I'm gonna sign off. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. Maybe the Jersey Devil, maybe Loch Ness Monster. I've got 2 weeks that I need to decide something, and I'm going to end with Bigfoot at the end because I'm such a big Bigfoot fan. I'm going to end with Bigfoot. So he's going to be our last one. It works out great, but it doesn't pull from the subject, but it gives him size. Exactly. Yes, right. If you want to see something specific, throw it down in the comments down below. That'd be great. Anybody who's watching in replay or anything, you get to this point, you want to see something next week, put it down below. Maybe I'll put a poll on the community tab or in Discord if you want. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see the image that I'm painting from, you don't want to go out and find it and grab it and everything, I've got that in my Discord channel. It's there in reference photos. And with that, I'm going to say, I hope that you all have a great rest of your evening. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I hope you're able to join me back here again next week when we do this whole thing all over again. Texas skunk ape. I'll consider it. Believe in yourself when nobody else does, says Bigfoot. Bigfoot is the world's hide and seek champ. I'm just going to say that. Anyways, that's what I've got for you guys this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.